I have had so many people tell me that they resisted this for so long, and you guys have been telling them they should do it. And then they come on, they do the 15-minute overview with me over the internet. And they say, oh my God, I had no idea of all the things you guys offered and how inexpensive it was. And it only takes me winning 2 extra jobs a year to pay for the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
And they say, I don't know why, I wish I had looked at it 2 years ago. You know?
Hey guys, this is AC Lockyer SoftWash Systems, and we've got one of our, first partner companies, oldest partner company that I used personally with my soft washing business back in the 2000s, and I actually found this company and heard a radio ad that you guys were doing way back then, and this is Ed Marchiselli with theseal.com. Hey Ed, how's it going?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So Ed, for many years now, theseal.com has been part of the uniqueness in what we do here at SoftWash Systems. And over the years, as we've really figured out what we're going to be here at SoftWash Systems, being a network of like-minded companies, co-branding together, having identical equipment, identical chemicals, identical training, individual brands, individual companies that are their own wholly owned assets, but function as a tribe, especially through our co-branding. We've really integrated more and more of theseal.com into this. And to the point now where we're actually, if anybody's going to be a network from certified applicator all the way through and up to 5-star, they have to participate in theseal.com. So just take a few moments to give us an overview of what theseal.com is as a third-party, really vetting company for us here at SoftWash Systems.
Sure. So we actually took something that every company should be doing anyway, which is knowing who is working for them, who they're sending out to their customers' property, who's handling their customers' credit cards, and who knows their customers' schedules and intimate things about them. And we've built a program around it to have very safe hiring practices, but we've gone one step further. We've built it into a sales and marketing program so that not only are you able to do the right thing for your customers, your other employees in your business, but you can actually use it as a sales tool to differentiate yourself with the customers and help you not compete on price.
Okay, so what are some of the hallmark things? So if you were to say these are the pillars of the SEAL program, I still want to call it Ask the SEAL because that's what it was back in the old days. You ask the SEAL. But the SEAL program, I know about the criminal background checks, but really kind of give us the pillars of what makes this such a great program.
Sure. So, we background check the owner of the company, anyone coming out to the property, or anyone handling credit cards or personal information back at the office. It's a best practice national criminal and sex offender check, including Social Security trace. And we have a very fair criteria that doesn't say the person's never been arrested or they've never been convicted of anything. It's a published criteria on our website, and they are all violent or theft-related crimes. There's also a time limit on it. We do anything older than 7 years from the date of conviction or release from jail, we don't count, with the exception of sex offenders. But if they pass our criteria, we issue them a photo ID card verifying that they've passed. And as you can see, that photo ID card is customized to the company. It's got their company logo at the top, their color scheme. It's a high quality driver's license quality badge. It's 600 DPI, full color edge to edge with a holographic overlay. And the other cool thing is if there's a QR code on every badge. And if you scan that QR code, it actually takes the customer to proof of background on that server. No personal information, just proof that person has passed our background check criteria in the last 12 months.
Okay, so let me open up my camera here, and I'm going to actually do that right now. How to hit the page. Okay, so it's going to take me to Ask the SEAL, and there it is. There's my ID badge. There's my information, my profile there on theseal.com.
Yeah, so the cool thing is that works and not every customer is going to feel comfortable enough to walk up to your guys and scan their badges. But the feedback I've gotten from our clients is that when they're in a sales situation, especially, and they show the customer their ID badge, and they explain that all of our employees that are on your property are going to have one of these badges, and anytime you can walk up and scan one, and it's proof of background. I mean, that's solid. They just know that, it's not some gimmick. It's like, hey, this is something real. So the ID cards are key. We also give our clients the images of the ID cards, so they can use them as email signatures. They can use them on their website, however they want it. We also create some sales and marketing materials for them. And then we have a tool called Seal Mail that either can be used directly through our system to email or text the customer the image of the ID card of the person coming and proof of their background check, or we integrate with a lot of the major CRM systems. And
so name a few of those CRMs. Talk about that for a second.
So Service Monster is the most common one, I think, that you guys use. There's one called Service Titan. They're actually listed on our homepage under the partner tab. And then we've also got some workaround integrations. So we've been working on the customer factor one. We're done with our side. They're finishing up their side. But we also have some workaround integrations, especially with the ID card images, where even when we don't have an integration, they can upload the ID card images to that CRM system. And each employee has their own unique URL to the proof of background. So even if we don't have the integration, they don't want to go to our system to send them, we have a workaround for them to be able to use their own CRM system that we don't integrate with, as well as the ones we do.
Right.
And it's so important when the customer gets that email before the person arrives with the image of their ID card in the context of this person is safe, they've been background checked and vetted by a third party, and then that person shows up on the property wearing that exact same ID card. It's very powerful. And I've had people say that, their customers have told them, when I got that email, I canceled the appointment with your competitor because I just feel comfortable with you guys, especially once they come out wearing those ID cards.
So you've got the criminal background checks. You've got the ID badges as a pillar, my whole program wrapped around that. You've got the whole Seal Mail program where you can send out to them in advance kind of an appointment setting email with the picture and information and everything else about the person that's getting ready to come in their home, whether it's a salesperson, territory manager, or it's the service crew technicians that are coming out. But also too, you do check for locally applicable licensing and things like workers' comp, liability insurance, those types of things as well. Tell us a little bit about how that levels the playing field in your program on that.
Yeah, so we actually, at the minimum at the state level, we look for licensing, and if it's required, we require it and we validate it and we list it on the profile. When we start getting below the state, there's counties, there's townships, there's sometimes neighborhoods.
Right.
So any of those that exist, we can verify those also and put it on the profile so the customer can see when they get that email or when they scan a badge or click a link or on their profile in our seal, they can see all of those licenses from the state level all the way down to the local level.
And then, okay, so for something that's a regulated industry like air conditioning, plumbing, pest control, stuff like that requires a state license, you're going to check for that state license. For us in the exterior cleaning industry, there's no state license required, but there are some states like New Jersey that require a home improvement license, which is a state license. You can check, and you once you learn a state and you know what's required in that state, you know what to look for on those things, right?
Right, exactly. And so in Florida, we're looking for a business tax certificate. We look on SunBiz to make sure they're there. So every state's a little different, and Brad manages that, with our onboarding of our customers, and kind of has a grid with all that stuff so we can keep track of it.
And even beyond that, if you have an organization that has a higher or more stringent requirement, you can also check to make sure a company has, like, for instance, at least $1 million liability insurance, at least workers' comp if they have 3 or more employees. And so like a company like us, SoftWash Systems, we can say, hey, any of our in-network companies, we want you to validate this as well. And you'll do that as a third-party vendor for us.
We do, and we get listed as a certificate holder, which doesn't cost the client anything. They just call their insurance agent or the insurance company and say, we need you to add the seal, and they'll send us a certificate directly from them. And the good news is we don't have to keep bothering for it every year. We get a new certificate every year if they cancel, and we'll manage that.
So one of the questions I get all the time is, AC, why are you forcing us to use the seal.com? I can go for a lot less money and pull my own criminal background checks on my employees and everything else, and I can get that information. Why can't I use another service? Why can't I pull that information myself? What's the importance of a third party vetting?
Well, it's not just the third party, but it's also, you guys vetted us when we first met. And it's making sure we actually do the background checks right, because you can go out to the internet and get a quote unquote background check, or you can have your admin could say, I'm running a background check, and he or she can just check the county that they live
Right.
in. And I've met a lot of people that say they were doing background checks, and it turns out they just do the county that they live in.
Right.
Well, people move, especially when they have problems,
Right,
and
yeah,
everyone in the town knows who they are, because they've been arrested 13 times. So they move somewhere else and get a job. So it's not only the third party, but it's somebody that actually does it properly. We start with a social security trace, and that social security trace tells us a lot of things. It tells us, is the person's name spelled right, because spell their name wrong on the background check form, or make a 7 look like a 1 on the date of birth. So if we start every background check with a social security trace, so we verify the name, we know if there's any aliases, and we know if we're checking the right date of birth. So the key there is we're doing it, correctly. And the other thing is we're doing it every year, And so what I found when I started this company is that a lot of companies that say they were doing it actually weren't doing it. The ones that were doing it improperly, just a county. They were doing a $10, $20 internet check that was very not comprehensive, and possibly even containing erroneous information. And then even of this tiny percentage that were doing it right, they were just doing it one time. And the person works for them for 5 years, and they've never checked them again. I had a client who, on a recheck, we found that he had a drug conviction during the year. Now, that was not a disqualifying offense, but the owner saw the background check and looked at his calendar and realized that, that person had told him that his mother died in Indiana and he had to go up to Indiana for a funeral. And the owner was kind of mad because he had sent him one of those edible arrangements, the fruit dipped in chocolate, to his house. And it turns out he was in jail on, drug charge instead of being up in Indiana at a funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the annual checks, people don't tell you, hey, I was in jail over the weekend, or, they don't call it, they call in sick. They don't call in jail. So there's a lot of different things besides the third party, the fact that we do them right, the fact that we do them annually. And we're the only ones that I know of that actually certify the results and say, that's the other thing. Even if somebody does a background check, they can say we did a background check, but they can hire somebody with a murder conviction and say, this guy seems like a nice guy.
Right.
He told me he didn't do it and I believe him. So what good does that background check if an owner or a hiring manager, even, and maybe the owner doesn't even know, the hiring manager says, I like the guy, or maybe he's my brother-in-law, and I'm not going to tell the owner of the company that, he's got this conviction. So, we're the only ones that actually certify those results with the ID cards.
So that's so very important, because as an employer, if I do the background checks myself and I don't cross my T's, I don't dot my I's, I think I'm doing a good job, I mistakenly hire somebody, put them on a customer's property, and something bad happens, 100% of the blame is going to fall back on me. Okay.
Absolutely.
But if you as a third party vetted that person, how does that protect me as the owner?
So in some jurisdictions, it actually has legal consequences where there's a much higher burden of proof. There's a thing called negligent hire lawsuit. And those lawsuits are won 78% of the time, and the average award is $1.6 million.
Wow.
And what that means is you hire somebody that has a violent history, recent violent history, and you put them on the job, And, a lot of people think about somebody hurting their customers, and that does happen, but more often than not, it's employee on employee, right? So one employee shows up a little hungover one day, he's not carrying his weight. Next thing you know, there's a fight in the parking lot. Somebody gets hurt, and you find out this guy has a violent history, and you either didn't, you didn't uncover it in your, the best you could do as a background check, or the guy told you a good story and you decided to hire him anyway.
Right.
78% of the time, you're going to lose that lawsuit, and the average award is $1.6 million. So,
wow. So for companies our size, it's go out of business time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to stroke that $1.6 million check, So, and if you've built your corporation right, you close your corporation and you don't have to write that check. If you didn't build your corporation right, they pierce your corporate veil. You now have a judgment against you personally, and for the rest of your life, your paychecks are attached.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So a lot at risk for a little amount of money. So let's talk about the special that you have for SoftWash Systems In-Network Companies, because you have a very specific special for us that nobody else gets. It's unique to us because of our relationship. Let's go ahead and talk about the dollar and cents cost, because that's the other thing is I get people say, well, gosh, I feel like I'm getting this pinged out of my credit card every month and it's really not getting me any business. Okay, so let's talk about the cost and whether or not it really is getting them any business or not.
Sure. So there is a setup fee that we normally charge $1,000 for, and we get every day in, day out.
Right.
And for SoftWash Systems clients, it's $199, and that includes the customized photo ID card setup. It includes customized sales and marketing materials with their logo and ours on it. They've got access to videos. We've actually got the ability to customize those videos for them. It includes the profile on our website. It also includes linking to that company's social media sites. Some of the newer guys don't have like a Google My Business profile. Mm-hmm. We will set that up for them, included in that $200.
Yeah, you'll get on the phone with them and walk them through the setup of that so they can leverage that.
We do it for them.
Wow.
And then we give it to, and the minute it gets active, we make them the owner of it so they can go update it, but we'll help them with it if they need it. But we actually will create it for them. I just created one for a client this morning.
Yeah.
So we link to those social media sites. If they don't have a profile on one of the social media sites, we'll help them or create it for them. And then we haven't really talked about the reputation management piece to help them get reviews.
I was just getting ready to say, and this is huge in the reputation management, because what you do is they don't automatically just go and review somebody on Google or Facebook or anything else like that. They actually get prompted by an email at the end of the job, and you take them through a filter. I remember you explaining, I may not get it exactly right, but if it's a good review, it takes them right to Google. Post that for me quick. If it's a bad review, it becomes an internal review, which gives you the opportunity to go out and make it right. Then when the customer goes back and re-reviews, if it's a certain number or higher on the review, then it takes them back to Google or Facebook to post that review. Explain how that works to us.
Yeah, and so the whole theory behind it is unhappy people don't need help doing reviews. They're very good at it. And yes. They're going to do a review on Google and Facebook and everything else.
Yeah.
Happy people are not motivated to go do out reviews, and they don't jump through a lot of hoops. And they might tell you they're going to do a review for you, and they might intend to do it.
Yeah.
They just don't get around to it in high numbers. So what happens is you've got the ability to email and or text your customer, how did we do? And it asks them to rate you 1 to 5 stars. And if it's 1, 2, or 3 stars, it goes into our proprietary review system, asks them for feedback, and you just get it via email. And we don't take them out to social media because they don't need help. If they're really unhappy, they'll find that on their own.
Yeah, we don't help unhappy people post reviews.
Yeah, exactly. So if they have a 4 or a 5 star rating and they have a Gmail address, which is basically required for a Google review, the second they click 4 or 5 stars, it takes them right out to your Google profile, clicks write a review for them, and brings them right into the review. And it is literally as far as Google will let anyone take the integration. So there are reputation management companies who are charging 4 times what we charge for everything, just for this piece. and it is no different. It's Google says
And
this
you've got
is
to
what
include
you're
it.
allowed to do, and
Yeah.
we do it.
Yeah.
The customer still can hit cancel or post, so it's not 100%, but we're seeing about a 70% conversion rate on Gmail users who click 4 or 5 stars, actually converting to a review on Google.
Yeah, so if you did 100 customers in a year, that would be 70 reviews a year if you use this reputation management side of the SEAL program.
Yeah, so not quite. It would be, so 7, if you did 100, probably about 50 of them would click a star rating and 50 of them would not.
Yeah.
Of those 50, 70% of those 50 would convert. So it's still, it's high percentage. And there's nothing higher than that. It's like I said, it's as far as Google will let anyone take the integration.
That's still 30 reviews a year. I mean, I've probably got 30 reviews in 10 years. So
yeah, I've actually
really going to help.
I've got an air conditioning, plumbing, electrical client that's in 2 different markets. So they have 6 different Google profiles, and they've got approaching 6,000 reviews on their main page.
Wow.
And over 1,000 on all of their other pages. And we're managing all those pages. And we're actually directing the customer to the right Google page based on which Google profile the employee is assigned to. So
that all happens for the $199 setup. Then what is the monthly fee?
So it's $10 per employee a month. And that includes the use of the logo anywhere you like. We give you the artwork. It includes the scanning of the ID cards to verify the background check. It includes the seal mail with the badges going out via email and or text. There's no extra charges for texting and that sort of thing. It includes the full reputation management system, which we didn't talk about Facebook, but it's integrated with Facebook and everything else too.
Yeah.
And it also includes annual re-background checking and badging for all of the employees every year. So on the employees' anniversary date of their background check, a couple weeks before, we're going to rerun their background check if they're still on the roster. We're going to send you a new copy of their most recent background check, and we're going to send you a new badge in the mail, all included in that $10. And we normally have a $99 minimum, but we've cut that in half for SoftWash Systems, so it's $49 a month.
Okay, so it's $49 a month.
And it basically covers up to 5 people.
Up to 5 people. Okay. So if I have 3 people, I don't pay $30 a month. I pay the $49.
Correct.
And then after that, if I need to increase beyond that, it's only $10 per person.
Correct. And it can change every month. So if in their busy season, they're up to 8 people, it's $80. If they go back down to 5, it's $50.
So let's take our average company out there. Average SoftWash Systems business only has 2 or 3 employees. They're one truck companies. And we get the one truck companies are kind of like, this is kind of tough on me. Okay, so we're $49 a month times 12 months plus $199 startup fee. That's $787 for the year. Then let's say they've got that one truck busy and they're doing their $270,000 a year in revenue. So let's divide that by 270,000. That means it is 3/10 of 1%. It is 0.0029 cents of every dollar, not 2 cents of every dollar. 3/10, 0.0029 of a dollar. That means it's 1/3 of a penny of every dollar that you make if you've got one truck busy on your SoftWash Systems model. 1/3 of every penny that you make, not 1/3 of every dollar, not even 1 penny of every dollar, 1/3 of every penny.
And that is
of $1. Yeah.
And that's the expense way of looking at it. The other way to look at it is, what do you think is going to happen when you're coming out to Mrs. Jones's house next week to do an estimate, and you send her that email with a photo of your ID, and then you show up with that ID and explain to them using the collateral that we provide you why you're the safe choice? How many extra jobs a year do you have to close to pay for $600?
I remember we had a guy that was in network. He was actually a pro staff member. And he wrote a glowing review on our old message board system, how the seal worked so well for him. And he just landed an apartment community that the only reason why he got the job, the reason why the property manager told him, you're the company we're awarding this job. It was a pro staff member in Michigan. is because of the SEAL program. A year later, he left the network because he did not renew his Ask the SEAL. And in his email to me, he said he never received any benefit out of the Ask the SEAL and decided to cancel his subscription. It's amazing to me. We had another person that was a pro staffer and even on the board of directors that we had to let go because from the beginning, from the get-go, you got to get the SEAL. You got to get the SEAL. You got to get placed. Oh, I'm going to do it this spring, AC. Oh, I'm going to do it next month, AC. They never did it. Okay. And we had to remove them from the network. They actually got a heads up we were getting ready to remove them from the network, and they quit and then started a competitive company against us. Yeah. But you got to ask yourself, here's the thing, is far and away, I get a lot of people that come to me with excuses. This is why I'm not going to do the SEAL. Okay, I'm going to pull up a little slideshow here just so I can read it so I remember. You've sent me a slideshow, and we're going to put it up on the LMS that people can download this slide presentation. It's only 6 slides, but I'm going to read a paragraph here. Because, listen, all of you guys with SoftWash Systems, if you're an in-network company, if you're co-branding with us, if you're on our map on our website, okay, you have to have the SEAL. You must participate in this program. There are no ifs, ands, or buts, and this is why. Ed, you sent over this slideshow to me, and on the 4th slide, the 2nd paragraph, you have a description here, and I'm going to read it, a description of what are the things that disqualify an employee. In other words, we've got a new employee, we've sent all their paperwork to you, you run the criminal background checks and everything else on them, and this is the list of people that you tell us, no, you cannot hire this person. All right, so here we go. You ready? That was a rhetorical question. Are you ready?
Yes. Can't wait.
But it's really, really serious stuff here. Okay, so here's the paragraph. Murder, attempted murder, solicitation of murder, manslaughter, concealment of a homicidal death, kidnapping or child abduction, unlawful restraint or forcible detention, indecent solicitation of a child, sexual exploitation of a child, sexual misconduct with a person with a disability, exploitation of a child, child pornography, assault, aggravated assault, battery, aggravated battery, stalking, home invasion, rape, sexual assault, criminal sexual abuse, theft, identity theft, forgery, robbery, armed robbery, aggravated robbery, burglary, criminal trespass to a residence, arson, attempted arson, embezzlement, and unlawful use of a weapon. That's a serious, serious list right there. So what the SEAL is protecting us from is from hiring people off this list.
Convictions for those crimes, not even arrests, convictions.
Yeah, so these are people that went through the court system, had their day in court, and it was proven that they are on this list, that the crime was committed, and that's pretty serious. I would not want to have an employee working for me that's on this list, let alone put them on a customer's property and put any of my customers in jeopardy of any of these crimes.
Yeah, now some of those, you might not want anybody ever. When you look at, maybe somebody stole a car when they were 18 years old.
Right.
And they're 30 years old now.
Right.
So the other component of that is, with the exception of the sexual offenses, there's a 7-year forgiveness policy for even the crimes that are on that list. So if somebody stole a car when they were 18 and they're 25 years old now, we can get them through. If they had a possession of marijuana last month, you may not want to hire them because of that, but we can get them through because that's not on the list.
Right. Yeah, and that's the big thing is what I want people to understand here is that the seal.com is a second chances company. You guys have a process that you go through. I'm not involved in the process. The business owners aren't involved in the process. You guys look at these background checks you pull and you make a judgment call. And there's been times even with my employees, I've called you up and said, man, this guy's great. He's been with me a while. I just started the program. You found something and you've interviewed people and gotten the backstory on it. Like you said, it may not be on this list and you got the backstory on it. You're like, you've called me up on the phone and said, you know, AC, I think we can take a risk on this one. And sometimes it hasn't even been stuff on this list, but there's been a preponderance or a chain or a definitely a rhythm of arrest record and stuff like that you've called me on the phone. I remember one of these conversations, you said, AC, it's not on the list, but I'm telling you, man, you hire this person, it's going to put you in a liable situation.
Yeah, he's been arrested 5 times for either burglary or possession of burglary tools. He's just got a great lawyer, you know.
Right.
But, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we're trying to protect everybody. We're trying to protect this network. It's a big deal because, you know, one bad day with one of our in-network companies and a truck ends up on the evening news or the national news, and there's that SoftWash Systems sticker on the side, and the news anchor says, you know, so-and-so, a SoftWash Systems In-Network Company, employee raped a 11-year-old girl at an apartment community. It's game over. It's game over for us.
Yeah, the fun part is too is when they arrest them on your customer's property. You know, they're driving your truck.
Well, before I hooked up with you guys, we actually had a branch manager in Tampa that had an O.J. Simpson style police chase with the helicopter, with the news helicopters following them through the streets of Tampa and everything else. And it was on the 6 o'clock news and preempted all of the other TV shows. And it was our branch manager running from the police in our sales vehicle with Mallard Systems on the side, his mug shots with the Mallard Systems shirts all over the news. Okay, it was horrible. And we found out because our little measly background check that we didn't expose it. He was a con man. He would go to older people, convince them to invest money with him. And he had a Ponzi scheme going. And while working for us too, and the police had busted him. And when he picked a vehicle to run from the police in, he was in our shirt, picked our sales vehicle, and it was O.J. Simpson style on the news. And being part of the SEAL has protected us from that type of stuff happening ever again. And it's huge. So listen, here, network, we're going to kind of wrap this up now. Man, network, we're just telling you, this is invaluable. The credit, the clout, the trust. Remember, all sales, okay, is a transference of trust. People buy from people they like and they trust. This here helps that, but it also helps protect the network. Okay, we've made a stance. We're doing this video so that we can communicate this to each and every one of you guys, but you cannot be an in-network company of SoftWash Systems unless you have the SEAL program in your company, you're engaged, you're using it, and every single one of your employees has gone through them. You know, so we see that happen from time to time. They've got it, but they've hired some people and they went, and I've had people tell me, AC, I can't, the SEAL is keeping me from hiring people. I have people apply for the job. I get ready to hire them. I run them through the SEAL and they don't make the background check. And I'm stuck without employees to do the work. I remember there's a guy in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's not in the network anymore because he dropped his, asked the SEAL program, it's the SEAL program, and said, AC, I can't hire people if I'm going to use the SEAL. Do I need to read that list again? Because the bottom line is, here's the bottom line, network. If the seal.com is keeping you from being able to hire employees and you get rid of it and now you take on the employees that the SEAL program would not pass, would not give you approval to hire, that means you're hiring violent, predatory felons.
You know,
You
I have
really enjoy films.
in my hometown of Sarasota, I only have one really big reputable air conditioning client that doesn't have the seal.
Wow.
And he just has the wrong attitude and for a lot of the things you said. And I told him, I said, it's so much worse for you because you're not just in a normal situation, but all these people with records, and they're not just any record, there's people with these serious offenses. They can't get jobs at your competitors. Where do you think they're coming? So
Right.
you're going to get an abundance of people now because you're not doing those background checks and you're not submitting them to this criteria. They're going to be looking for jobs at your company at a higher rate, you know. So the fact that so many of the network is using it, some of these worst guys out there, they're going to be looking for the guys that don't do it. And so they're going to get even more of those guys than they normally would.
Yeah. It's discouraging. And honestly, what I've found over the years, when I hear all the excuses about the seal, most of the time, the reason why people don't get it or fight it is because the owner of the company actually has a criminal background that would not pass muster with you guys.
Yes.
And so they resist it and come up with all the excuses in the world. But the fact of the matter is the ownership of that company has something on that list. And that's kind of terrifying to think about. And that's what we're trying to avoid here at SoftWash Systems, is make sure that we have the absolute best and brightest people cut from the absolute best cloth, that we've got people that are clean, have clean criminal background checks, and that we're protecting our customers, we're protecting the other companies in the network, we're protecting our other team members from, you know, employees that fly off the handle or take advantage of people, or there's all kinds of, like you said, most of the lawsuits are intra-company lawsuits.
Yep.
And that's what we got to do. So that, guys, that's the reason why this is absolutely required. It is a non-debatable element in our program, and you must have participation in the seal. Any parting words, Ed?
No, I have had so many people tell me that they resisted this for so long, and you guys have been telling them they should do it, and then they come on, they do the 15-minute overview with me over the internet, and they say, "Oh my God, I had no idea of all the things you guys offered and how inexpensive it was, and it only takes me winning 2 extra jobs a year to pay for the whole thing."
The whole thing, yeah.
And they say, "I don't know why. I wish I had looked at it 2 years ago." You know, so come in with an open mind. And the thing is, a lot of people don't like to be told what to do. So I would just tell people, have an open mind, because if you really took the time to learn about this, they would want to do it whether you told them to or not. And if they don't, there's something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed, thanks so much for joining us today. I know this video is going to be helpful for people at the SoftWash Systems Network, the in-network companies, to be able to really appreciate what you guys do for us as a third-party vetting service for all of our companies to protect us, but also give us an incredible sales tool. Because let me tell you something. The reason why I've got this on one of these retractors is this is one of my favorite things to do when I'm talking to a customer, is to pull out that ID badge and talk about the differentiator that the seal.com is. Well, thanks so much, Ed.
Yeah. Thanks, AC. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see all you guys later.
Bye-bye.